The afternoon sun dipped low over the small American town of Maplewood, turning the brick walls of Jefferson High into warm shades of amber. School had just let out, and students spilled onto the sidewalks, laughing, shouting, and checking their phones. For most, it was a normal day. For Emily Carter, the new girl, it was something else entirely. She walked slowly, clutching her worn backpack. Her blonde hair fell over one shoulder, and her sneakers looked like they'd seen better days. She had transferred only 2 weeks ago after her mother passed away. Her father had taken a job overseas, leaving her with her aunt, a nurse who worked long shifts. Emily had been quiet since she arrived, too quiet for teenagers used to social media chatter and group selfies. That quiet made her a target. "Hey, new girl," sneered Tiffany Morris, queen of the sophomore class, leaning against a lamppost with her group of friends. "You're too good to talk to people, huh?" Emily tried to walk past, keeping her eyes down. Tiffany shoved her shoulder. "I'm talking to you." Emily stumbled but caught herself. "Please, I just want to go home." The other girls snickered. "Home? You mean that tiny apartment near the gas station? My dog's kennel is bigger," one mocked. Tears stung Emily's eyes. She turned to walk faster, but Tiffany grabbed her backpack and yanked it backward. Books spilled across the sidewalk. "Oops," Tiffany said with a smirk. Emily bent to pick them up, her hands trembling. A crowd started to form, teenagers sensing drama like sharks scenting blood. Phones came out, and that's when a voice broke through the noise. "That's enough." Everyone turned. Standing at the edge of the sidewalk was a man in his late 30s. His short cropped brown hair and straight posture gave him a look of quiet authority. His eyes were calm but sharp, too sharp for anyone to mistake him for just another parent. He wore a simple gray t-shirt, faded jeans, and a pair of combat boots that had clearly seen more than one battle. It was Daniel Reed, a single dad and former U.S. Army Ranger. He had been waiting for his daughter, Lily, who was in the same grade as Emily. Lily had mentioned some girls picking on the new kid before, but Daniel hadn't thought it had gotten this bad. Now, seeing it in front of him, something cold and heavy stirred in his chest, the same instinct that had kept him alive in war zones. Tiffany crossed her arms. "Who are you supposed to be?" "Her dad." Daniel stepped closer, his voice even but firm. "No, but I'm a dad, and I know what it looks like when someone's being hurt." The crowd quieted. Even the air seemed to change. Tiffany's smirk faltered. "We were just joking around." He knelt beside Emily, helping her gather her books. "Does that look like a joke to you?" he said softly, eyes never leaving Tiffany. Emily shook her head, blinking back tears. Daniel stood up, towering over Tiffany but never raising his voice. "I think you owe her an apology." Tiffany scoffed. "Or what? You gonna call the cops on a couple of girls?" Lily, who had just arrived, stepped between them. "Dad, she's the one I told you about. They've been picking on Emily every day." The look in Daniel's eyes hardened. "Every day, huh?" Tiffany rolled her eyes, but her voice wavered. "Whatever. She's weird. Nobody likes her anyway." Daniel's reply was quiet, but it carried weight. "You don't have to like her. But you will respect her." He held Tiffany's gaze for a moment longer before turning to Emily. "Come on, kiddo. Let's get you home." Emily hesitated. "You don't have to." "I know," he said kindly. "But I want to." He picked up her backpack and started walking. The crowd slowly dispersed, whispering among themselves. Tiffany watched him go, her stomach twisting with something she couldn't name, fear, maybe, or guilt. Daniel and Lily walked Emily home that evening. As they passed through quiet suburban streets, Daniel asked gentle questions, learning bits and pieces about her life, her mom's passing, her dad's absence, the loneliness that hung around her like a shadow. "You've been through a lot," he said finally. Emily shrugged, her voice small. "People don't like talking to the new girl." "It's fine." "No, it's not," Daniel said. "You deserve better." When they reached her apartment, Emily looked up at him. "Thank you for helping me." He smiled. "You don't need to thank me. But if you ever need someone to talk to, Lily and I are just down the street." As they walked away, Lily glanced at her dad. "You think she'll be okay?" Daniel sighed. "She will be. But I think we can help her feel less alone." Over the next few weeks, Emily began sitting with Lily at lunch. She smiled more. She laughed sometimes. Slowly, People started seeing her differently, not as the quiet new girl, but as someone strong enough to rise above cruelty. But bullies rarely stop after one defeat. Tiffany and her friends began whispering behind her back again. They didn't like losing control. One afternoon, they followed Emily after school, cornering her behind the gym. "Thought you could hide behind that ex-soldier forever," Tiffany sneered. Emily froze. "Please just leave me alone." "Why? Gonna cry for your army daddy again?" That's when Tiffany pushed her, hard. Emily fell against the fence, scraping her elbow. The girls laughed. "Guess he's not here to save you now." But fate, it seemed, had a way of repeating itself. A low voice came from behind them. "You sure about that?" The girls turned. Daniel stood there again, only this time, his expression wasn't calm. His jaw was tight, and his eyes carried the kind of authority that made soldiers straighten up in an instant. "School grounds," he said quietly. "You touch her again, I'll make sure the principal, and your parents, see every second of it." Phones work both ways. Tiffany stepped back, flustered. "We weren't." He cut her off. "Don't lie. I was in the army for 15 years. I've seen tougher liars than you break in 5 minutes." The girls muttered apologies and ran off. Emily clutched her arm, shaking. Daniel crouched beside her, inspecting the scrape. "You okay?" She nodded, though her eyes glistened. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble." He shook his head. "You didn't. They did. And you stood up by not backing down. That's strength." Tears finally spilled over. "I'm just tired of being hurt." Daniel sighed softly. "I know the feeling. When I came back from overseas, people looked at me like I didn't belong anymore. Sometimes the battlefield follows you home." Emily looked up. "Did it ever stop?" He smiled sadly. "Not really. But you learn to fight different battles, with kindness, with patience, and with people who care about you." The next day, Daniel went to the school. He met with the principal, Mrs. Andrews, and explained what he'd witnessed. The woman looked exhausted. "I've tried to deal with Tiffany's behavior before," she said. "Her parents are difficult." "Then I'll talk to them," Daniel said firmly. Mrs. Andrews blinked. "Are you sure?" "I'm not here to threaten anyone," he replied. "Just to make them understand what this does to kids." That evening, Daniel showed up at the Morris family's large house. Tiffany's father, a corporate lawyer, opened the door with a skeptical look. "You're the veteran, right? What's this about?" Daniel told him everything, calmly, clearly, and without exaggeration. He described how Emily was harassed, humiliated, and physically hurt. When he finished, there was silence. Tiffany's father looked down, shame flickering in his eyes. "I didn't know it had gone that far." "Kids take cues from adults," Daniel said gently. "If we look the other way, they learn to do the same." A few days later, Tiffany came to school and did something no one expected. She apologized. Not just to Emily, but in front of everyone. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't easy, but it was real. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, handing Emily back one of the notebooks she had once tossed to the ground. "I was mean for no reason." Emily hesitated, then took the notebook. "Thank you." For the first time, Tiffany didn't smirk or roll her eyes. She just nodded and walked away. Months passed. The school year went on. Emily flourished, her grades improved, and she even joined the art club. She began spending weekends at Daniel and Lily's house, helping with dinner or watching movies. For her, they had become something close to family. One night, after dinner, Lily fell asleep on the couch. Emily helped Daniel wash the dishes. She looked at him thoughtfully. "You were really in the army?" "Yeah," he said. "Most of my adult life." "Was it scary?" "Sometimes. But it taught me things too, about courage, about standing up when it's hard." She smiled softly. "You did that for me." Daniel dried his hands, turning to face her. "No, Emily. You did that yourself. I just reminded you you could." Her eyes shone. "I wish my dad was like you." Daniel's heart tightened. He'd heard the pain behind those words before, in the voices of soldiers missing their families. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You'll see him again. And when you do, he'll be proud of who you've become." The following spring, Jefferson High hosted a Veterans Appreciation Day. Daniel, at first, refused to attend. That was a lifetime ago, he told Lily. But Emily insisted. You helped me when no one else did. People should know who you are." So, reluctantly, he went. When his name was called, and the principal spoke about his service record, 2 tours in Afghanistan, Bronze Star, community volunteer, students stared in stunned silence. Tiffany and her friends sat in the front row, eyes wide. They had mocked this man, this quiet dad at pickup time, without knowing the kind of courage he carried. Daniel stepped up to the microphone. His voice was steady. "I'm not here to talk about war," he began. "I'm here to talk about something harder, kindness. Because you can't fight every battle with your fists. Some fights, you win by protecting people who can't protect themselves. And sometimes, that makes you stronger than any soldier." When he stepped down, the gym erupted in applause. Emily wiped her eyes. Lily hugged her father tightly. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt since his days in uniform: purpose. Later that day, as the sun set over Maplewood, Daniel sat on his porch, sipping coffee. Emily and Lily were playing with the dog in the yard, laughing. He smiled. A knock came at the fence. Tiffany stood there, looking nervous. "Hey, Mr. Reed," she said quietly. "I just wanted to say, thank you. For what you said today." He nodded. "I'm glad it meant something to you." "It did," she admitted. "I've been trying to be better. It's not easy." He smiled faintly. "The hardest things never are. But they're worth it." She nodded and walked away, shoulders lighter than before. Daniel leaned back in his chair, watching the girls chase the dog under the golden light. Life had taken him through deserts and danger, loss and loneliness, but it had brought him here, too. To a quiet town, a daughter who adored him, and a girl who'd found her strength again. And for a man who had seen too much darkness, that was more than enough. If you liked this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real and emotional stories.